question says, the shape of the S subshell is, the shape of the S subshell is, when we are talking about subshell, we have S subshell, we have P subshell, D, and we have F. These are subshell. We have S, P, D, F, G, H. But at this level, we take into consideration these four, S, P, D, F. This S subshell, it is spherical in shape. Please take note, spherical in shape. P subshell is dumbbell, dumbbell in shape. While D subshell is what? Double dumbbell, double dumbbell in shape. Then the F subshell is complex. The shape of F subshell is what? Complex. But look at the question. The question says, the shape of the S subshell is, and I told you S subshell is what? Spherical in shape. That means the answer to this question is what? Option D. And take note of this. We have this also. They can ask you how many electrons can be found in P subshell, how many electrons can be found in S, how many electrons can be found in D, how many electrons can be found in F subshell. Take note of this. In S subshell, the number of electrons is 2 electrons. 2 electrons can be found in S subshell. In P subshell, the number of electrons that can be found in P subshell is 6 electrons. In D subshell, the number of electrons that can be found in D subshell is 10 electrons. While in F subshell, you can find 14 electrons. If you look at it, that means there is a 4 difference between each of them. From X is 2, then 2 in P subshell is what? 6 electrons. If you look at the difference, that is 4. Then in this subshell, then in F subshell is what? 14 electrons. It's a question also. Please take note of that. Let's look at the second question. The second question says, the tincture of iodine. The tincture of iodine means iodine dissolved in which of the following? We have option A, ethanol. Option B, bromine chloride. Option C, we have chlorine water. Option D, we have water. This tincture is a mixture. It's a mixture of 2 substances, iodine and what? That's the meaning. Tincture is a mixture of iodine and what? This iodine can be dissolved in what? Ethanol. The answer is what? Ethanol. Don't forget, ethanol is a solvent that can dissolve what? Iodine. That means iodine crystal is a solid that can sublime. Don't forget that. Iodine is a crystal that can what? Sublime. Sublime means what? Changing from what? Solid state to what? Gaseous state directly without passing through the what? Liquid state. Let me explain. Iodine is an example of a substance that can what? Sublime. That means sublimation means iodine can change from what? Solid state to what? Gaseous state directly without passing through the what? Liquid state. Then when this iodine is dissolved in what? Ethanol, it has what? This solution is formed. Tincture of what? Of iodine. That means tincture of iodine means iodine being dissolved in ethanol. Take note of that. Let us look at this third question. We have temporary hard water is formed when rainwater containing dissolved carbon 4 oxide flows over. Class, don't forget, we have 2 types of hard water. We have temporary hard water, we have permanent hard water. We have temporary hard water, we have permanent hard water. Permanent hard water is caused by magnesium ion and what? Calcium ion. When you have any one of these 2 in water, that will give you a permanent hard water. Permanent hard water what? Is a result of what? Magnesium ion or calcium ion present in water. Then when we are talking about what? Temporary hardness of water. Temporary hardness of water is caused by dissolve calcium hydrogen triazocarbonate form. When you have calcium hydrogen triazocarbonate form in water, this causes temporary hardness of water. Then this question says temporary hard water is formed when rainwater containing dissolved carbon 4 oxide flows over. The answer to this question is what? Calcium triazocarbonate form. Take note of this. Water containing CO2 can dissolve calcium triazocarbonate form. When you have water that contains CO2, it will dissolve calcium triazocarbonate form to form calcium hydrogen triazocarbonate form. This is the equation. Let me write down the equation for this. When you have this, when you have water containing CO2 flows over this. This is water containing CO2. Water containing CO2. That means water containing what? CO2. This CO2 is dissolved in water. This is the only water that can what? Dissolve calcium triazocarbonate form to form calcium hydrogen triazocarbonate form. Take note, to form this. The presence of this in water will give what we know as what? Temporary hard water. This causes what? Temporary hard water. But when we come to what? Permanent hard water, magnesium ion or calcium ion, the presence of any one of these in water causes what? Permanent hard water. That is magnesium ion or calcium ion, the presence of one of them. Why calcium hydrogen triazocarbonate form what? Temporary hard water. Take note of that question. Let us go to another question. Another question which is very compulsory, very important. Another question. Another question. We have this. The acid anhydride. The acid anhydride. The acid anhydride. The acid anhydride that will produce weak acid. That will produce weak acid. That will produce weak acid in water. That will produce weak acid in water is, we have option A, we have SO3. Option B, we have NO2. Option C, we have SO2. Option D, we have CO2. Take note of this. We have the acid anhydride that will produce weak acid in water is, whenever you hear the word acid anhydride means what? Oxide of non-metals that will react with water to form acid. That's the meaning. Acid anhydride. Acid anhydride means oxide of non-metal. Means oxide of non-metals that will dissolve in water to form acid. That means oxide of non-metals that will dissolve in water to form acid. Then we have examples are NO2. This is an example of acid anhydride. We have SO2. It's an example. We have CO2. It's an example. We have SO3. These are examples of acid anhydride. That means oxide of non-metals that will dissolve in water to form acid. Oxide of non-metals that will dissolve in water to form acid. Take note. NO2, this one, when it reacts with water, it produces two acids at the same time. Take note. When you have NO2, take note of this. This one is very important. When it reacts with water, It produces what? Two acid, which is what? Triazonitrate 5 acid and diazonitrate 3 acid. This one produces two acid when dissolved in water. It produces what? Triazonitrate 5 acid. It produces what? Diazonitrate what? 3 acid. It produces two acid when dissolved in water. But when you have this, SO2 react with water, it gives H2SO3. This one produces acid, but only one acid. But the one that will produce a weak acid is what? Option. Which option do we have? We have option D. This one produces what? Weak acid. That means when you have CO2 plus H2O, it gives H2CO3. H2CO3. This acid is an example of weak acid. Take note. That means triazocarbonate 4 acid is an example of what? Weak acid. And don't forget, they are all acid anhydride. That means the oxide of non-metals that will react with water to produce what? Acid. But the one that will give the weak acid is what? CO2. Take note. CO2 is acid anhydride, but CO, carbon monoxide. This one, carbon monoxide or carbon 2 oxide is an example of neutral oxide. When we get to that topic, you will understand better. You will understand better. It's a topic on its own. This CO, carbon 2 oxide or carbon monoxide is what? Neutral oxide. Why CO2, carbon 4 oxide or carbon dioxide is what? Acidic what? Oxide or acid anhydride. Another name for acid anhydride is what? Acidic oxide. Acidic oxide. That's another name for them. That means acid anhydride can also be called acidic oxide. That means oxide of non-metals that will react with water to form acid. But CO2 produces what? Weak acid when it reacts with water. Why CO is a neutral word oxide. Take note of that. Let us go to the last question for today. Last question for today. The last question for today. We have this question. We have incomplete oxidation of ethanol. Incomplete oxidation of ethanol. Incomplete oxidation of ethanol. Incomplete oxidation of ethanol. Yield. Option A. We have option A. We have CH3COOH. We have this. Option B. We have CH3COCH3. Option C. We have CH3. We have CH2OCH2CH3. Option D. We have CH2CH2CHO. We have this. Incomplete oxidation of ethanol. Yield. Incomplete oxidation of ethanol. Yield. I'm sorry, this one is CH3. Incomplete oxidation of ethanol. Yield. Take note. We have what we call oxidation reaction of alcohol. Another name for alcohol is alkanol. Alkanol. We have 3 types of alkanol. We have primary alkanol. We have secondary alkanol. We have tertiary alkanol. We have primary alkanol, secondary alkanol, tertiary alkanol. How you can differentiate the 3 of them will be taught in a topic known as what? Alkanol. Alkanol as a family in organic chemistry. Alkanol, when we get to that group, you will be taught how you can differentiate their structure. Take note how you can differentiate their what? Structure. In this case, oxidation of these three can be carried out using an oxidizing agent, which could be K2Cr2O7 or KNNO4. You can use potassium heptaozodichromate 6 or potassium permanganate. These two are what oxidizing agents that can be used. If I oxidize this primary alkanol, example of primary alkanol, we have ethanol. Ethanol is an example of primary alkanol. If I oxidize primary alkanol using K2Cr2O7 or using KMnO4 in drop, I will have what is known as what? Alkana. Alkana. Another name for alkana is what? Aldehyde. Aldehyde. This is what? Incomplete oxidation. Incomplete oxidation of our primary alkanol. Then we have with excess of K2Cr2O7. You will have what is called alkanoic acid. Alkanoic acid. Another name for alkanoic acid is what? Carboxylic acid. Carboxylic acid. Carboxylic acid. That means when you oxidize primary alkanol in drop, that is incomplete oxidation, you have alkana, which is also called what? Aldehyde. In excess, K2Cr2O7, in excess you have carboxylic acid or alkanoic acid. Take note of that. If you oxidize secondary alkanol with K2Cr2O7 in drop, you will have what is known as alkanon. Alkanon. Another name for alkanon is what? Ketone. Ketone. Then in excess, you have no product. No product. Then oxidized tertiary K2Cr2O7, either in drop or in excess, this one will give you no product. No product. Meaning that among the three of them, primary alkanol is the most reactive. Among primary alkanol, secondary alkanol, tertiary alkanol, primary alkanol is what? Most reactive. Between alkana and what? Alkanol. Alkana is more reactive than what? Alkanol. Take note of that. But the question now says incomplete oxidation of what? Ethanol. This ethanol is an example for primary alkanol. Ethanol is an example of what? Primary alkanol. Ethanol is an example of primary alkanol, which is what? C2H5OH. Then when this one undergo incomplete oxidation, that means primary alkanol undergo incomplete oxidation when it reacts with what? Oxidizing agent in drop, that is incomplete oxidation reaction. What you will have is what? Alkana. Alkana. And which one of them is alkana? Option what? D. That means ethanol. That means when ethanol undergo what? Incomplete oxidation with what? Oxidizing agent, it forms what? Ethanol. Alkanol from alkana. Ethanol from what? Ethanol. At this moment, let us stop here. Please, for more video,